are reviving the culture in agriculture with Planting the Seed every Sunday on Channel Africa.
Inhliziyo yakhe yathuthi yaphelezela uthande nginalo luya ngokuyaluyehla engathi kwanele manje engathi kwanele ungendiso kwepola ngishonisa ngisale wena ungendiso kwepola Sangam zani lo baba bengi singing God daddy bengi singing God daddy bengi singing God sweetie Sivani bengi singing God daddy bengi singing God daddy bengi singing God sweetie Sivani bengi singing God daddy bengi
uyakuhlonipha saqale ngokuxolisa phela ama secret alidlula iqakala isokisi ngiyabona ngathi aswani hlala phansi ngikubonisa uthando lwethu lusaphila usathana wakhe ibhokisi indoda ngeqiniso layo angisile type ezokumokola ngempilo enganayo kodwa ngiyalazi iphupho lakho wena sise naso belief mangiba busy ngigijimisa lo mpilo esinganayo yeah my past is nothing pretty there's some things you ain't forgiven I just ask that you give me a little faith ngena bhayza nabothidi nabosanda nabosindi nabo wakhalinye embezi bona cha ngeke ngilinge ngiphinde ngizwile lezwile ngikuzwisile ubhlungu kodwa right nibaningi necherry yami kunomnganami kunomngami lapho ku
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When
11 minutes past 12 midday in Central African time. Thank you very much for tuning in and happy Sunday to you. Officially the last Sunday for the month of June, and we have to make this one impactful. Thank you for tuning in as we broadcast live from our studios in Johannesburg in South Africa. We are here at the Channel Africa headquarters. Thank you very much for listening in. Planting the seed. This is of course where we revive the culture and agriculture and look at what that looks like, the lens of agriculture that is, through the African perspective. So thank you for being here. We are live on the internet. That is channelafrica.co.za. You can also catch us on satellite across the African region. It's channel PAS10 in Southern Africa, OpenView HD, channel 628, and the DSTV audio bouquet, channel 802. So here we are, okay, at the tail end of the month. And so many things to reflect on. I think matters of environmentalism and taking care of our oceans have been big themes. So in light of that, I really want to tribute a woman who's been a grand inspiration to many people that are interested and involved in matters of environmentalism. And she's been a great inspiration to me almost my entire life. Wangari Maathai, I wanted us to really just tribute her work today in the first hour. Very, very important that I start with mentioning that, because when it comes to themes around environmentalism, of course, we observed World Environment Day on the 5th of June. I thought it would be wonderful as we wrap up the month to really tribute her work and her contribution by visiting her Nobel Peace Prize lecture that she did back in the day. So that's coming through in this hour. We look at our Agri Stories of Africa that always comes through as per on a Sunday. And then we are profiling farmer Musa Sono. He's going to be live in studio with me this afternoon, just after 1 p.m. in Central African time. Thank you for tuning in. And my name is Matsako Musito, by the way. Thank you for tuning in your company until 2 p.m. in Central African time.
Salanga mulema mwami Uusate belubai Balamiko sontane mongelema Mutukawa Abengwa mutondobe Mutukawa Abengwa mutondobe Na asiba makwese misobulu ukate jongele ndolango nasi makwese misobulu ukate jenela wanawa andola mioi 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 bulu tobo nasi beni penio asuda mama oh wamolangu ya temanjo manje nangalano na wonyulango namongele waende oibie tondio waende oibie nae namongele waende oibie atondio waende oibie nae
Natondi Ua, the title of the song, coming to you by Ben Deka. Thank you for tuning in. We're 17 minutes into 12 midday in Central African time. Thank you very much for choosing to spend the afternoon here with us on Channel Africa as we bring you Planting the Seed and Reviving the Culture in Agriculture. This is the time of the day when we take a look at Agri Stories of Africa. A few events are taking place and just a few notes to remember as we wrap up the month of June. And we are going to check in as we begin with highlights on the role and impact of the Food and Agricultural Organization and the World Health Organization Food Control Systems Assessment Tool in supporting countries to build strong, effective food safety systems. So through a combination of testimonials and narrative storytelling, it communicates the importance of coordinated evidence-based efforts to improve food safety across the entire value chain. It also emphasizes the challenges that are faced by countries, such as fragmented responsibilities and limited coordination. And it also shows how the assessment tool helps to identify gaps, prioritize improvements, and also develop strategic inclusive plans.
In many countries, ensuring food safety and quality across the entire food chain is a challenge. Fragmented responsibilities, limited resources, and lack of coordination make it difficult to guarantee safe food for all. But countries are working to change this with the support of the FAO-WHO Food Control System Assessment Tool. This tool helps countries assess their food control systems, identify gaps, and prioritize improvements. But what do those who used it say?
As a country, we came together and we were able to find where we really are. We were able to see what are our strengths and what our weaknesses are. Then from the strengths and weaknesses, we did some gap analysis and we came up with a strategic plan on how to address those gaps.
By shining a light on strengths and weaknesses, the tool enables governments to take action.
It helps member states to identify the gaps in their system. They know where they are and they know where they want to be in what time frame.
C'est d'avoir une vision globale de notre système, chose qui n'était pas faite. Donc là, actuellement, on connaît la situation générale sur la sécurité sanitaire des aliments.
When the tool came, it looked at the food safety from the farm up to the fork.
Before the project came, the country operated without a food safety strategy. So we operated in silos. Now, after this project, we now know who to consult to coordinate actually the food safety issues.
The tool also strengthens countries' ability to advocate for resources and investment. Beyond improving systems, the tool supports trade and economic development.
Cela permettrait d'accroître encore plus le commerce, d'établir une confiance du consommateur, qu'il soit national ou régional et sub-régional.
I think this project helps the private sector to have a marketing strategy, have a trade strategy to build this relation between the domestic market and regional market as well as global market.
This will help the countries facilitate their trade for their imported or produced products.
It is a country-led participatory process, powered by national stakeholders, with technical support from FAO, but driven by the country every step of the way.
So the process that we use to assess the national food control systems is a highly inclusive process. So it brings together all stakeholders from across different sectors: agriculture, health, trade, academia, private sector, consumers, etc. It's extremely participatory because it asks from them a lot of information and it guides them through the review of that information, through making out priorities. So eventually FAO facilitates this process, but it is really an entirely country-led process.
It's not a top-down tool, it's a bottom-up tool. It allows you to, look inside your own systems to see what is not working and what can be done about what is not working.
The FAO-WHO Food Control System Assessment Tool has already supported over 30 countries. It has also worked regionally in Africa with a 3-year project supporting a total of 10 countries from the African Union.
I think the tool should be rolled out to the other African countries. It was a trial, and I think based on what we're seeing, it's something that is good for the continent and it should be rolled out further.
By working together, countries can build stronger food control systems that protect consumers, promote trade, and improve public health.
Very, very important audio clip there that underscores how the tool fosters collaboration across ministries and stakeholders, and how it also empowers countries to move from working in silos to a more unified One Health approach. This system that we're talking about, of course, is all about the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Health Organization Food Control System Assessment. Okay, so we check in with digitizing agricultural extension in Africa, as spearheaded by organizations like the CIAT, now part of the Alliance Biodiversity International, which actually aims to leverage digital technologies to improve agricultural practices, increase productivity and enhance livelihoods for smallholder farmers. This, of course, involves the utilization of mobile phones, radio as a traditional form, the internet and other digital tools to deliver information and advisory services, bridging the gap between research and farmers.
We need to figure out how we feed 10 billion people by the year 2050. We have an opportunity here, and the window is closing. If we can increase agricultural productivity, Africa can feed the world. Extension agents perform a critical role in agriculture and food systems. They are the ones who take the tools, the practices, and systems from a knowledge perspective to an implementation perspective. They take those tools down to the people who will implement and practice them.
Right now, farmers live in isolation. We have one extension agent to 5,000 people, and that's on average. There are cases where you have 1 to 10,000.
So the solution lies in the digital tools. Digital tools enables us to bypass the challenges that we face with analog extension systems. So what we're trying to do is flip the script and ensure that we have a galaxy of information accessible and available to all farmers whenever they want it, wherever they want it.
The smartphone will allow village-based advisors to have this knowledge and be able to transfer it to farmers in a way that will transform their lives.
We are always educated, so we would like to be educated more and more. When I sit down, I listen to them, though I was a teacher, as the children used to listen to me.
25 minutes past 12 midday in Central African time. Thank you for staying with us as we're about to wrap up our Agri Stories of Africa. In our final update, we look at China's interests in African agriculture. It is very multifaceted, that space, just by the way, driven by a combination of economic, developmental and strategic factors. China seeks to secure its own food supply, expand its agricultural exports on the continent, and of course contribute to Africa's agricultural development through investments, technology transfer, and other ways to facilitate this. So this interest is also reflected in increased trade, in investment, in infrastructure, and also sharing of agricultural expertise. So with that said, I wanted to revisit some highlights from a very, very important international Agro-Biodiversity Conference 2025. It took place in Kunming in China, and this was in May of this year. And when we look at things from a scientific innovation point of view, from looking at strong partnerships, for example, this global gathering really reaffirmed that agrobiodiversity is key to tackling interconnected challenges in the space of climate, nutrition, equity, as well as resilience. And it does it all at once.
Cutting across the different sessions I participated, that at the center of it all, at the end of the day, although we may be talking of agrobiodiversity, it is the people. And so if we want to change how we address nutrition, how we address the environment, how we address food systems, how we address agriculture, it really starts with the people. And so for me, that was a key word.
Through this Congress, I realized increasing the public awareness is very important. We still need to, through the public awareness, then we can promote our work in the future and let more and more people, especially young generation, can participate in this kind of work.
We want them to, first of all, to put farmers at the center of discussions on agrobiodiversity, to recognize that farmers is a key stakeholder in the issues of agrobiodiversity, agroecology, so that they will be able to support them with right policies, support them with financial means, and support them in ensuring that they also benefit from the discussion that are going on.
The key message from the Congress is that agrobiodiversity produces benefits for different key components of sustainable development, for food security, for health, for nutrition, for resilience to climate change and other shocks, and also for prosperity. We saw evidence about those linkages. So I think now the task is how we elevate that evidence to show the importance of agrobiodiversity for the sustainable development strategies of the different countries in the world.
As just the theme of this Congress said, it's agrobiodiversity is for people, it's for planet. So we need to do faster, and we need to collaborate more closely.
And there is a need for far more exchanging and sharing with those national institutes, because they have this know-how, they have seed banks of forgotten crops, of course CGIAR also, but we may imagine that through the national systems you will have far more impact. They relate with farmers, they relate with policy making, and they relate with the private sector.
So one key takeaway is vocal for local. Eat what is grown around you. And the second message is have a rainbow plate. Eat diverse foods. It will sustain diversity. It will sustain the livelihood of the varied farmers and indigenous communities. And it will make life on earth beautiful.
And that is our Agri Stories of Africa for this Sunday, the 29th of June, 2025. Thank you for staying with us on channelafrica.co.za and, of course, across different satellite platforms in Southern Africa and, of course, across the African region. Tributing the work and life of Wangari Maathai, who was a Kenyan political activist, and I think most importantly, she was an environmentalist and a feminist. I love to call her that. Founder of the Green Belt Movement, which was an environmental non-governmental organization, and it really was about giving Kenyan rural women an opportunity to feed their families and also to plant trees. She started planting trees in the year 1977, and she managed to plant over 50 million trees in Kenya. I mean, if that is not inspiration, I don't know what is. So we tribute the life of the late, great Wangari Maathai as we wrap up Environmental Month. And in remembrance, we are going to, of course, take a look at one of her most important speeches, I think, that was delivered in Oslo City Hall in Norway in the year 2004. This was her Nobel Peace Prize lecture that she delivered that year. So stay tuned for that. I think this is a very, very necessary tribute.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba. Cette peur d'un point de non-retour nucléaire suffit-elle selon vous à légitimer une telle offensive, monsieur Talazi?
Absolument pas du tout. Cela fait plus de 30 ans que l'Israël crie haut et fort sur les toits, où il veut se faire entendre que l'Iran serait à 1 an pour obtenir l'arme nucléaire. Parfois, l'Iran serait à 6 mois. Parfois, l'Iran serait à 2 semaines pour obtenir son arme nucléaire. Et curieusement, jusqu'à ce jour, il n'y a toujours aucune preuve que l'Iran a obtenu cette arme nucléaire depuis les déclarations d'Israël et certaines puissances parfois.
Vue d'Afrique, du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
We are reviving the culture in agriculture with Planting the Seed every Sunday on Channel Africa.
Malaika Banatudiwa Malaika Malaika Banatudiwa Malaika
Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa.
Had quite an illustrious career across the African region. Cameroon's Tom Yom coming through with his reimagined rendition of a Miriam Makeba classic, Malaika. We know several renditions of that song. Angelique Kidjo of Benin also has her own rendition of it. And this is us planting the seed until 2 p.m. in Central African time. Welcome to the show. If you've just tuned in, my name is Matsako Musito, hosting the space for you. Big themes of environmentalism came through in the month of June. We observed World Environment Day on the 5th of June, as per every single year we do that. And this year was much about the eradication of pollution. But I think when it comes to matters around environmentalism, it's never in each soul separately. Hey, it's always one subject matter or one important space and place to the next, because they all work together. There is an entire ecosystem, as we have been taught by the likes of Wangari Maathai, whom we're going to tribute today as we wrap up Environmental Month. Professor Wangari Maathai was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize on December the 10th in the year 2004 in Oslo City Hall in Norway. In its citation, the Norwegian Nobel Committee noted Professor Maathai's contribution to sustainable development, democracy, and peace. The committee further stated that Professor Maathai stands at the front of the fight to promote ecologically viable societies and social, economic, and cultural development in Kenya and, of course, the entire African region. So as we tribute her life and times, as we acknowledge themes of environmentalism and her establishment of the very successful Green Belt movement, I thought we could go back to her Nobel Peace Prize lecture from the year 2004.
I call upon Wangari Maathai to give her Nobel lecture.
Your Majesties, Your Royal Highness, honorable members of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you and the world, humbled by this recognition and uplifted by the honor of being the 2004 Nobel Peace Laureate. As the first African woman to receive this prize, I accept it on behalf of the people of Kenya and Africa, and indeed the whole world. Tree planting became a natural choice to address some of the initial basic needs identified by women. Also, tree planting is simple, attainable, and guarantees quick, successful results within a reasonable amount of time. These are all important to sustain interest and commitment. So together we planted over 30 million trees that provide fuel, food, shelter, and income to support the children's and education and household needs. The activity also creates employment and improves soils and watersheds. Through their involvement, women gain some degree of power over their lives, especially their social and economic position and relevance in the family. This work continues. Initially, the work was difficult because historically our people have been persuaded to believe that because they are poor, they lack not only capital but also knowledge and skills to address their challenges. Instead, they are conditioned to believe that their solutions to their problems must come from outside. Although initially the Greenbelt movement tree planting activities did not address issues of democracy and peace per se, it soon became clear that that governance of the environment was impossible without democratic space. Therefore, the tree eventually became a symbol for the democratic struggle. Citizens were mobilized to challenge widespread abuses of power, corruption, and environmental mismanagement. In Nairobi's Uhuru Park, at Freedom Corner, and in many parts of the country, trees of peace were planted to demand the release of prisoners of conscience and a peaceful transition to democracy. Through the Greenbelt movement, thousands of ordinary citizens were mobilized and empowered to take action and effect change. They learned to overcome fear and a sense of hopelessness and moved to defend democratic rights. In time, the tree also became a symbol of peace and conflict resolution, especially during the ethnic clashes when the Greenbelt movement used peace trees to reconcile disputing communities. During the ongoing rewriting of the Constitution, similar trees of peace have been planted in many parts of the country to promote a culture of peace. Using trees as a symbol of peace is in keeping with a widespread African tradition. For example, in my own community, the elders carried a staff from a tree called thegi. Whenever there were disputing sides, that staff was placed between them. And as soon as the elders placed that thegi or that staff between them, they stepped back, stopped fighting, and went to seek reconciliation. Many African communities have this heritage and tradition. Such practices are part of an extensive cultural heritage in Africa, which contributes both to the conservation of habitats and to cultures of peace. With the destruction of these cultures and the introduction of new values, local biodiversity is no longer valued and protected, and as a result, it quickly degenerates and disappears. For this reason, the Greenbelt movement explores the concept of cultural biodiversity, especially with respect to indigenous trees and medicinal plants. As we progressively understood the causes of environmental degradation, we saw the need for good governance. Indeed, the state of any country's environment is a reflection of the kind of governance in place, and without good governance, there can be no peace. Many countries which have poor governance systems are also likely to have conflicts and protecting the environment. In the year 2002, the courage, resilience, patience, and commitment of members of the Greenbelt movement, other civil society organizations, and the Kenyan public culminated in the peaceful transition to a democracy government and laid the foundation for a more stable society. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is 30 years since we started this work. Activities that devastate the environment and societies continue unabated. Today, we are faced with a challenge that calls for a shift in our thinking so that humanity stops threatening its life support system. We are called to assist the earth to heal her woods, and in the process, heal our own. Indeed, to embrace the whole creation in all its diversity, beauty, and wonder. This will happen if we see the need to revive our sense of belonging to a larger family of life with which we have shared our evolutionary process. As I conclude, I reflect on my own childhood experience when I would visit a stream next to our home to fetch water for my mother. I would drink water straight from the stream because it was clean. Playing among the arrowroots, I tried in vain to pick up the strands of frogs' eggs, believing they were beads with which I could adorn myself. But every time I put my little fingers under these beads, they would break. Later, I saw thousands of tadpoles, black, energetic, and wiggling through the clear water against the background of the brown earth. This is the word I inherited from my mother. Today, 50 years later, my stream has dried up. Women walk longer distances to fetch water, which is not always clean. And children may never play with the tadpoles and the frog eggs, and they may never know what they lost. The challenge, as I stand here today, is to restore this home for the tadpoles and give back to the children.
Wangari Maathai. I mean, what do we say? What do we say about her legacy that was just larger than life? And I believe we don't tribute her work enough. I don't believe we talk about the importance of planting trees enough, because there are just so many benefits. And she speaks so often about planting of trees. And she spoke so often about how simple it is, you know, and how trees are actually meant to outlive us. Trees are, when we plant a tree today, it's not for you today, it's for future generations. It's for your great grandchildren to be able to enjoy. So she was just so futuristic in her thinking and her approach to matters of environmentalism. So we remember the Nobel Peace Prize winning Professor Wangari Maathai as we wrap up Environmental Month. Of course, she was an environmental activist. She was a government official. She was a social activist. She was a feminist. I mean, all the wonderful and progressive things of a new earth she was. So may her soul rest in peace. And I think that the work of the Greenbelt movement should continue, not just in honor of Mama Wangari Maathai, but also in just acknowledgement of the kind of future and the kind of earth that we want to build as we move forward as African people. Coming through in conversation with a young farmer, we also acknowledge the space of Youth Month here in South Africa, which I believe should be a widespread theme across the African continent. We are going to be speaking to Musa Sono, very purposeful and passionate in his farming. He's only 20 years old, but he is feeding the nation in more ways than one. He joins me in studio after this.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatam.
Should influencers be expected to be impactful in society? If there is a social or societal conversation that goes up, should we be waiting eagerly to hear what the influencers have to say?
They are more than just entertainers. They are thought leaders to some certain degree. They influence culture. They influence people's thought processes. They set trends. They shape opinions of people. And the sad reality is, although a lot of them don't want to accept it, I think we're getting better with them realizing that embarking in that journey and in that space comes with a certain level of responsibility.
I see it differently in that, professionals are really good at their job, but there is an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. Welcome to Planting the Seed with Matseko Musito on Channel Africa.
Holy fire, holy water, holy money, only money, only money, only.
During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about African solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much for
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John, Ambassador Mpongwe said he's going to second me. During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about African solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much for
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John, Ambassador Mpongwe said he's going to second me. During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about African solutions for African problems, What does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me.
Joseph's face was black as night. The pale yellow moon shone in his eyes. His path was marked by the stars in the southern hemisphere, and he walked his days under African skies. This is the story of how we begin to remember. This is the powerful pulsing of love in the vein. After the dream of falling and calling your name, these are the roots of rhythm, and the roots of rhythm remain. This is the story of how we begin to remember. This is the powerful pulsing of love in the vein. After the dream of falling and calling your name, these are the roots of rhythm, and the roots of rhythm remain. Joseph's face was black as night. The pale yellow moon shone in his eyes. His path was marked by the stars in the southern hemisphere, and he walked the length of his days under African skies.
This is audio taken from what I believe was one of the most important concerts when we look at really trying to build spaces of African Renaissance, if you will. Paul Simon, he's an American record producer, just by the way, but his affiliation with African artists is just, it's next level. He's worked with Oliver Mtukudzi, he's worked with Thandiswa Mazwai from South Africa, he's worked with Lady Smith Black Mambazo from South Africa, Miriam Makeba, also known and lauded as Mama Africa. He's worked with so many artists, Ray Phiri, Thomas Mapfumo, I think at some stage. He's worked with all of them, especially in the SADC region, and this is taken off a concert known as Under African Skies, right? So Paul Simon is just incredible, and that music really just reminds us of what is possible if we come together. And we come together right now talking all things agriculture until 2 p.m. in Central African time. Thank you for staying with us. We are going to be getting into conversation with Musa Sono. He's going to be joining me in studio. I know he's running up right now to come and join me in studio. And we're going to talk about his farming activity and also just his community work and how the two meet. You know, I think when I really look at his story and I look at the footage of what he does in farming and establishing spaces to cook food for communities, I want to say. And also there's also just such a beautiful spiritual element to everything he does. He prays for people. He cooks for people. He farms for people. So he really is here to be of service. Musa Sono is going to be joining me very young, okay, at only 20 years old, and already doing so much important work as a farmer, as a baker, as a mentor, as a community builder. Can't wait to share the story with you. Stay with us.
5 years out of the industry, you don't know the vibe still alive. Salute father, white Fefe Bussy and watch sexy. Inche come with the generation. Caesar, nice to be important. Lord of mercy, important to be nice. Sing no beyond.
Kusaba la visaba fake friend them. Dosirika la visaba bad mind them. La visaba hypocrite them. La visa, la visa, la visa. Kusaba la visaba fake friend them. Dosirika la visaba bad mind them. La visaba hypocrite them. La visa, la visa, la visa.
Yes, yo. La visa kabisa baheta batiza matiza. Kalisa mumisa etala molisa ya kisa. Chitone yolesa obubi bola balemesa. Kubago makosa gakosa ne boso wempisa. Kulemesa la visa. Zole ya kwe la visa. Kulimbo yo la visa. Tomo gabida na visa. Permission ni luku sabo bukutanga.
During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about African solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me. During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about African solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongo has said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa...
This is a public service announcement.
This July, your weekday afternoons get a bold new boost. Introducing Matseko Mosito, who joins Tebogo Likweleni on The Upside.
I love it for us. Oh my goodness.
Bringing you fresh perspectives, inspiring stories, and the energy to carry you through the day. From culture and lifestyle to real talk, The Upside keeps it positive, powerful, and proudly African.
And fabulous.
The new Upside kicks off on the 1st of July, weekdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Only on Channel Africa, The African Perspective.
The African Perspective.
No. Oh, yeah. I'm in chains, you're in chains too. Our uniforms and you are uniforms too. I'm a prisoner, you're a prisoner too, Mr. Jailer. Oh, I have fears, you have fears too. I'll die, but you said will die too. Life is beautiful, don't you think so too, Mr. Jailer? I'm talking to you, Jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner. Let him is without sin be the first to cast a stone, Mr. Jailer. Mr. Jailer, man, you suppress all my strategies. You oppress every part of me. What you don't know, you're a victim too, Mr. Jailer. Oh, you don't care about my point of view. If I die, another will work for you. So you treat me like a modern slave, Mr. Jailer. I'm talking to you, Jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner. Let him who is without sin be the first to cast a stone, Mr. Jailer. Mr. Jailer, man. You see, if you walking in the marketplace, down throw stones, Even if you do, you just might hit one of your own. Life is not about your policies all the time. So you better rearrange your philosophies and be good to your fellow man. Stop calling me a prisoner. Let him who is without sin be the first that cast the stone. Mr. Jailer, oh, I'm talking to you, Jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner. Let him who is without sin be the first that cast the stone. Mr. Jailer, Mr. Jailer, I am a baby say, I wanna be president. I want your money from my government. What he don't know, what he won't know, what he can know. Jailer, Jailer, oh, be good, oh, be good, oh, be good, oh. Somebody be good, oh, be good, oh, be good.
11 minutes past 1 p.m. in Central African time. Our permanent favorite representing Nigeria and of course the rest of the world. Asha coming through with Jailer. And this is us in the second and final hour of Planting the Seed. This is fast becoming like a space to really uncover untold stories of the African soil. You know, we don't just profile anybody. We really are looking for people that are participatory in spaces of humanitarianism, in farming, you know, in storytelling, in how we can use technology and innovation to really help people that were previously disadvantaged in a meaningful manner. And I'm thinking about these themes now as I'm talking, and I think that's exactly where the show is going in its next season. And speaking of all these powerhouses, I am so honored to be joined by somebody I consider to be a powerhouse of passion and purpose. Musa Sono joins me in studio. At just 20 years old, he is already redefining what it actually means to be young, African, entrepreneurial, but in also incorporating matters of social activism as well in the work that he does, and humanitarianism. So from working the soil and feeding people with fresh bread that he provides, he not only farms crops, but he also uses the space of creativity to contribute to the community, which I love so much. So there's a lot of wealth in his hands when we look at his story. He's a farmer, he's a baker, he's a mentor, he's a community builder. I mean, so many titles. And then when we look at his story from how he got to basically launch his bakery, he's now mentoring other young men like himself and those that are, of course, younger, to really build on the drive to serve and to be community builders. So it is such a pleasure to be joined in studio by Musa Sono. Listen, I want to give you a Nobel Peace Prize. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm highly favored by God. You forgot one thing when you were introducing me.
Tell me what
and
I forgot.
You forgot to say that I'm an African. In fact, I would like to quote the famous words of our former president, Thabo Mbeki. I'm an African. I owe my being to the hills, the valleys,
of this land,
the mountains, the glides, the trees, the deserts, and the ever-changing seasons that define the face of our native land. I feel like that statement goes hand to hand with Musa. Yes.
Listen, I was waiting for you to say that because it sounds so much better when you say it.
Yeah.
You are an African. You're
Yes.
a true African, son of the soil,
Yes.
servant of the people,
Yes.
you know, and a servant of God
Yes.
through the work that you do.
Yes.
Yeah. How was the church service today?
The church service was amazing. Hell,
Yeah.
It was always amazing to be in God's presence. I always say in the definition of a man, there are 3 things that define a man. His level of knowledge, number 1. Number 2, his level of spiritual enlightenment. And the third one, of course, is the quality of relationships he has around him. So speaking about spiritual enlightenment, it's important for me to be in the house of the Lord. That's why I am kept the way I am. You know, this is what I move with is not something that you just pick up on the side of the road. It's something that has to be poured into by constant presence in with God, you know, your higher deity. And that is where you find your purpose, you know, when you're closer with him and you ask him, Lord, what am I supposed to do now? That kind of a relationship with him. Yeah, so, and today he told me, hey, go to the studio today, and when you get there, touch hearts, inspire people. I'm doing the Lord's work as I am here.
No, you are.
Yeah.
And that, I think that is actually your legacy. I mentioned so many titles and so many things that you do, but I think your legacy is actually the lives that you touch on a daily basis, including mine. I mean, I'm already, you know, feeling your energy and feeling so inspired. And I think that's actually your grand purpose, is to leave people better than how you found them.
Yes.
So well done. Well done.
Thank you.
You
very
call
much.
yourself a master of, a jack of all trades and a master of no limitations.
Yeah, I don't believe in limitations.
Tell me, who inspired you? I mean, is there a gentleman's club in your universe that has helped you, your grandfather or men in your community? Where do you get this from?
I'll be honest with you, from my mom. My mother is someone who never went post-matric. She barely passed matric, right? And also my father. And they have worked and had means to survive. So they would start baking, sometimes would make pine gels. I forgot to say, I can also sew, I can also make bathing soaps. I can make anything that makes a human need to be a human. And I also learned sales, right, from her. So it would be school, and then I would be seeing how they are putting means to an end. And I would see God elevating us, and we ended up living in places where educated people were living and we were uneducated. Then I saw a gap. I'm like, no. Life is not as straight as everyone makes it out to be. You don't just wake up in the morning, you are born, you go to school, after school automatically there's a job waiting for you, and then you will work, and then everything will be a fairy tale. It's hard out there. And I am glad that in my earlier ages, from the earlier stage of grade 10, I was already baking with my mom for the bakery, and now I run the bakery solely. But I started there. I saw her do it during COVID, when everything was down, when everything was, you know, our way of life was disrupted then. But I can assure you that during that time, that's when God identified me and he said, now is your time. Now is your time to move from the comfort zone, and now is the time for you to become the man I've called you to be.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well done, Musa. I think that's amazing. And the story of your mother and how she has self-educated and used her own gifts. You know, she didn't have the privilege of a formal education, but she was born with gifts and talents.
Yes.
And she used them, and now she's passed them on to you.
Yes.
I mean, what a story.
Yes.
Right? What a story. You speak about, I mean, bread is also such a beautiful metaphor, you know, for the work that you do, because you are breaking bread with other people and other community members that surround you. But let's talk about the farming activity, and what the soil means to you, and what harvesting means to you, and how you got into the space of farming.
I'll first like to say farming is a divine calling.
It is.
You know, working with the soil is a divine calling. I always say, when God created the earth, right, he created humans in his own image. But then when you further read down, as I read my Bible today, he formed man from the dust, right, from the soil. And the last time I checked, the soil was brown. The darker the soil, the richer the soil. So I'll start by saying, in the beginning there was an African. And the African, the first thing he was given by God, he gave him the garden, he gave him the land. Now, many of us as Africans have lost touch with that. You know, the love for the land. Many of us are wanting to work office jobs and not the land anymore. There's nothing wrong with office jobs, but I'm just putting that across. When did I start farming? I started farming when I was 12 years old. I bought my first animals when I was 12 years old. How did this happen?
Wow.
My family had a trip to Cape Town, right? And in this trip to Cape Town, I asked to stay behind and go to Limpopo. And I said, give me my share that we were going to spend there. I want to go to Limpopo. And she gave me 1,200. And then I took a bus to Limpopo, my grandfather's farm, 5 hours away from here. And I got there and I bought 2 piglets. 2 piglets, a male and a female. Then my farming journey started at the age of 12 years. And I had never gone to Cape Town before. I really wanted to go to Cape Town, but I had a choice now. I had to pick between Cape Town or farming, and I chose farming. From the earlier ages of, well, as long as I can remember, I used to mold animals with the mud and everything, and I would play with myself, pretending that I'm owning a large farm. So it was cultivated that way. It started at the age of 12. Yeah, that is my farming story. That is where it began.
I love that. Also another beautiful piece of legacy is that your grandfather was a farmer.
Yeah.
And what a way to listen to the voice of God, where you're like, listen, I could go to the beach, or I could go and upskill myself and start the journey for my calling.
Yes.
What a wise choice at the tender age of 12. A preteen already making these wise decisions.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. In studio with Musa Sono. He's a farmer, a baker, and community builder, and he joins me in studio. I want us to take a quick break, but when we return, I want us to talk about the space of mentorship. What does that mean, in its meaningful state? Mentorship and purpose when we return.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Cette peur d'un point de non-retour nucléaire suffit-elle selon vous à légitimer une telle offensive, monsieur Talati?
Absolument pas du tout. Cela fait plus de 30 ans que l'Israël crie haut et fort sur les toits, où il veut se faire entendre que l'Iran serait à 1 an pour obtenir l'arme nucléaire. Parfois, l'Iran serait à 6 mois. Parfois, l'Iran serait à 2 semaines pour obtenir son arme nucléaire. Et curieusement, jusqu'à ce jour, il n'y a toujours aucune preuve que l'Iran a obtenu cette arme nucléaire depuis les déclarations d'Israël et puis certaines puissances parfois.
Vue d'Afrique, du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
From dusk till dawn, Channel Africa Radio is your soundtrack to life.
Just you and me.
12 minutes past 1 p.m. in Central African time, coming through with some proudly South African music. Msaki with Hold Me Down coming through. Thank you very much for staying with us, planting the seed as we revive the culture and agriculture. A big humanitarian theme, it looks like, on the show today. We tributed the work of Wangari Maathai. Of course, she's an environmental activist, the late great Kenyan activist, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. She really was about the simplicity of planting trees. You know, she planted trees, and I wanted to acknowledge her as we wrap up World Environment Month. World Environment Day was on the 5th of June, but I think Professor Wangari Maathai's work through the Green Belt movement is still very important and significant. And that is why, you know, youngsters like Musa Sono exist today in studio with me. And we're talking about his wonderful journey and his purpose-driven work, you know, and not just in us swirling around these beautiful words in our mouths, but he's actually on the ground. He's living this life. He's listening to the voice of God and moving with divinity. So he joins me in studio in his capacity as a farmer. He's also a baker, very talented, and a community builder. Musa, we were talking just before we went to a musical break about mentorship. I'm very interested to find out what you think of mentorship, because we were also talking, and we were both from the township of Soweto.
Yes.
And we're talking about, you know, just that expectation when you come out of school, you've got to get into university. You've got to, you know, buy yourself a nice car. You know, you've got to be seen to be having things. And you chose a completely different direction. You chose the soil, you chose people, you chose community, and you chose service, you know, which is so unheard of, I think, especially for youngsters of your generation. So talk to me about how mentorship perhaps has shaped your own journey and what that looked like for you.
Mentorship played a big part of my journey, in the sense of I used to surround myself with a lot of older people, right? And in surrounding myself with older people, I would see a lot of their mistakes, and I would see how miserable their lives were. You know, the constant thing that I would hear most of the time with the people I was around me, my older brothers and everything, is if I had done that. I would hear sometimes my mom say, if I had started when I was younger, I wonder where I would be now. And I'm like, wait, I'm still young. And then you begin to understand things like time is a currency. When I look at the older people at 50 years, at 60 years, now you want to start doing something. Now, so panda. And I'm like, what were you doing with the rest of your life? Honestly, they did not know. It's because in our townships and in the environments where we grow, there is no direction of a specific destination for the black community. Where are we going as a people? What are we trying to build? It is not clearly defined. You see it in the things that consume our youth, you know, things like alcohol, drugs. We live for the weekend. We live for the next party. We live for the next show off. You know, we live for the next sneaker. We live for the next, we are surrounded by stereotypes like indotamas, the indota comedians, you know, all these things that have clustered up and are junk into our minds, and we are fed them constantly. No kulekasi, you look, your first point of reference at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is umalume standing at the corner drinking a beer. Now, that's the older person that you are looking at, right? It's unlikely that you'll aspire to want to be something else. Now, I surrounded myself with older people, as I said, farmers, people of different paths, and I would listen to wisdom, you know, because there's a saying that the minds of the youth are like the bright stars, like the bright mottos, but now the wisdom of age is like the stars that remain constant, that a sailor can rely on them to guide his course. So as a young person, I am a bright star, but without direction. Now I can look at the wisdom of age, which are the stars that remain constant, you know, showing me their mistakes, showing me what they could have done better. And I use that, contemplate all of that, and make it Musa. I am not going to be like my father who did 1, 2, 3, 4, who couldn't do 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a better perspective of the world and what I want the world to be. The dream always has one believer at first. I research a lot also about our anti-apartheid fighters, our Chris Hani, our Nelson Mandela. These are people who are called terrorists by the government, terrorists by people living in that regime. Even black people call them terrorists, Right. It's because they had a dream that was not a norm. And you see, whenever you have a dream that is not a norm, you must expect attacks. Now, you need to be told that what you want to do won't happen. And now, constantly surrounding yourself with older people who know the journey, unlike being with people who are also still trying to find their feet. Which one is better? It's the older journey. But now, even in the older journey, you need to be careful in terms of mentorship. And now I'm speaking to the youth, right? There are certain things that our mentors could not go into. Now, because of one emotion, fear. You see, sometimes experience can hinder you from wanting to move ahead. You'll hear a lot of people like us saying, I won't start a business because I've tried it before and it did not work out. You need to be careful of such things, even though you learn from everyone. But you need to be careful about the things that are there to suffocate you. But learn from everyone. I learn from everyone. The poorest, the richest. The one that I hear has wisdom and the one that I hear has a potential to develop. I learn from them. Why? Because it helps me clearly define my heaven and clearly define my hell. I clearly define where I want to go, what I want to be, and clearly define where I don't want to be. Now, the reason why you find many people staying in one place, right, is because you haven't clearly defined where you want to go, your heaven. What does it look like? Define it. It doesn't matter if it looks like Tabu's or it does not look like Tabu's heaven. What is your heaven? Based on the experiences that you've seen the older generation do, where can you define your hell? Where can you say, I never want to be there? I'll tell you, I don't want to be poor. I've made that commitment to myself. I don't want to be poor. Whether you put me in DRC, in the poorest place in Africa or wherever in the world, I've invested so much in myself of knowledge that I'll survive anyway. I refuse to be poor. I've clearly defined my heaven. I've clearly defined my hell.
You will survive anyway. Because the skills that you have, I mean, I was telling you another conversation we're having on air, now we're going to bring it on air, is around just what is it that the education system is inherently designed to teach us? Because we come out of school, we can't sew clothes, we can't farm, we can't do taxes. What is it that isn't self-development one of the greatest skills that we should walk away with? We're grateful for the academics and the beautiful English that we can speak, but beyond that, when you actually leave just with the school going qualification, what is it that you can actually do? And it is difficult for many of us to be able to answer that question. But with that said, you do a lot of things.
Yes.
And just following on your thoughts around the older generation that has surrounded you, and as you listen to them and how they've impacted and influenced your thinking and how you view your youth and how you want to use your youth and how you want to transmute the things that you are hearing and change and shift and shape things in your own timeline. Let's talk about how you balance it all, because there's farming, there's the bakery work, there is, building a sewing school, that's coming up, and of course your education as well, because you're still a young person. How do you make sure that you fulfill all these things in this timeline that you've got?
You create systems. But first, I want to say I'll acknowledge God. He's the one that is able, is making me able to do all of these things.
Yeah.
But secondly, you create systems. Now, I'll also reference God once again. Our God is a God of systems, right? God created a human once, and he never did it again. And we have 7 billion people. What happened? There was a system that was put in place of procreation. And every time we as humans engage in that, there's another human born. God does not go around planting trees anymore, right? He put a system. He put the system in a seed. when you take it and plant it, a tree grows. So when you want to balance all of this, you put systems. An idea is a seed. You water it and you water it, and then it comes a time where other people come and help you water it as well. And it becomes a system. Now you can move and do much more and many other things. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone.
That is the key.
Yeah, build systems.
That's the key.
Build systems. And that's how even people become successful, you know. This is one thing they don't tell us. As self-employed people, you want to do everything. You want to be everywhere. You want to be... No. You must build systems so that you can be effective in what you do. Because it doesn't matter if you can do a lot of things, but you're not being effective in any of them. And God has given us people to support us. When they see you moving with the vision, people will follow the vision. And if you don't compromise on the vision, people will have... confidence to follow the vision. If you yourself don't believe enough in the vision, no one will follow you. Because you're telling them to let go of their time and follow someone who's not sure of where they are going. So build systems and you'll be able to manage time. I want to leave you guys with this, right? Time is a currency. You use time to buy the life you want to live.
Use time to buy the life
Everyone
want to live.
Everyone is 24 hours. The billionaires and the poor people. Each and everyone is 24 hours. What's the difference between the billionaires and the poor people? Is that some of us, most of us, are taught to trade our time for money. But what rich people do is they trade their money for time. They use their money to buy time.
Yeah.
Musa, it would have been very easy for you as a township boy to, follow the rest of the sheep. Go the traditional route, get the polo with the sunroof, get the girls, get the expensive shoes, all of that. You chose a different direction. What do you say then to young people who still laugh at spaces of farming, who still laugh at being of service, who still think it is so uncool to be bare feet and it's just filthy, I'm not going to do that? What do you say to them? Because a lot of them seem to be lost, even with all the shiny objects around them.
Most of such people have a low self-esteem, I'll be honest with you. And those are people who use what they have to define themselves. Now, this is a very dangerous place to be, because a person who will say, I don't want to be in a farm or be dirty, is probably wearing a fancy shoe and likes wearing fancy clothes. There's nothing wrong with wearing a fancy clothes like your Nike, but if you not wearing a Nike doesn't define who you are, then you have a problem. If you can't put on overalls and go work the land because you will be dirty, then you have a problem. And most of us, I think, we are trapped in the inability to say no. I always say this: your inability to say no is not making you a better person. If you know you want to be a farmer, do it. Every time you say yes, even when your spirit screams no, you are sacrificing your destiny on the altar of popularity. You are killing where you are supposed to go for temporary approval. So don't care what everyone else says, If you want to be a farmer, it doesn't matter whether you think it's dirty, because I know what defines me. I know it's not me being... if you see how clean I am now, on a regular Tuesday, you'll find me in overalls. I prefer being in overalls. I prefer people looking down on me. And it's because when you underestimate me, that's when you will actually see the true power of God in me. I don't want to pretend like I am something. I am what I am. And because when I open my mouth, the value of what I say, you will also hear that this one is set apart, is ordained. If I look like everyone, then if I behave like everyone, then what sets me apart?
Correct, yeah.
So we should not look to be in the crowd. Look to stand out, because if in the crowd, the bottom is overcrowded, man. Reach for the top. Yeah, reach for the top. The bottom is overcrowded. You can't do that.
And there's no purpose there. There's nothing there, actually.
What do you want to be remembered for? Right. And I want everyone listening to this show right now, even the old ones and the young stars that are coming up, what do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered for dancing the most on nightclubs, or driving the fastest car, or having the hottest girls, or being with the most girls? Is that what you want to be remembered for? I feel like at some point this is a question that each and every young man and young woman has to ask themselves right there. What do I want to be remembered for? I hear the greats being mentioned all over around me. What did they do? What did they sacrifice? Then it's understanding that my life is not for myself. I was not born for myself. I was born for the purpose of God, and that is to be able to live with people. You can see that it's the nature of our people. If I put you in a room alone and put you and lock you away, you will lose your mind, because you are not built to be alone. You are built to be with the people. Now, what are the people going to remember you for?
What did you do? What did you actually do?
Generational wealth. How are you going to build generational wealth? There are certain surnames that when we hear out there, if the daughter of the child of that place comes and says, I'm so and so, it automatically opens doors for them. It's because of the life their parents have led. Your life one day, young man, young lady, will act as a banner of honor for the children that you will have. They will enter places and they say, this is the son of Musasono. We remember your father. Your father did 1, 2, and 3 for us, and we cannot let you suffer. That is what we want to build. Generational wealth is not just built by having a lot of money, but it is leaving a legacy in people's minds and hearts, as to say the name of Musasono shall not be forgotten because of the impact that it did in the community. And the name of Musasono will just not represent anything, but represent humanity. It will represent Ubuntu. This is beyond me. It is not for me. It is for the people. God has called me for that, and I will share my testimony. I know I'm taking a lot of time.
No, please.
I'll share my testimony.
Yes.
I was a child born with epilepsy, right?
Okay.
I was a child born with epilepsy, and during my struggle with epilepsy in my earlier ages, my parents took a decision to fast for children who had epilepsy. Now, the doctors had declared that by the age of 5, I would have a brain damage. So I would actually not be able to do anything for myself right now. That's why I will always mention him, because I'm here, because he allowed me to be here. They went on a fasting and prayed for other children who were going through the same situation. And after 3 days, I was the one that was healed. After that, after my mother had a dream of me being delivered, I never had a seizure ever before. What does that tell you? It tells you that my life is not for me. I am the symbol for the community. My pain is the pain of the nation, and the pain of the nation is my pain. So God has used my life to be an example to others. In our time that says the youth is dead, there's nothing that will come from the youth. I will stand up and be a beacon of hope and say that the youth is not lost. They are just ill-informed, and we will educate them. We will inspire them, because what is leadership? What is mentorship? Leadership is not me forcing you to follow me. It's me inspiring change in you. And I don't inspire change by just speaking to you, but by you looking in me, you will feel a deep conviction, and you'll want to follow your purpose.
I love that.
Yeah.
You are the match that lights the next person.
Yes.
Umenchis. Oh my goodness. I'm a changed woman. I really am. I really love. I think that's one of the first things I mentioned to you when you came in is your winter food drive initiative.
Yes.
I know that's also very, very important to you.
Yes.
And it and I love the thread, of everything that you do that ties together. The farming, planting the seed, growing the food, taking the food, cooking it, baking, and then feeding people.
Yes.
Yes. Talk to me about the feeding scheme and that initiative broadly.
So the initiative, we feed the community Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I run an organization alongside my sister and my mother called Emuseni Foundation.
Lovely.
Emuseni Foundation wants and seeks to help people who are less fortunate. Now, it doesn't want just to help people who are less fortunate by just giving them food. We want to identify the root cause. What is keeping them in poverty? It is lack of skills. People do not know what to do with their hands. And that is why we are complaining about unemployment, which is a real crisis, yes. But you cannot starve because of waiting for employment. I'm a testament of that. I paid for my own school fees with my own hands. I used to run at the robots. I still do it today to pay 11,000 for my school fees at MSA for my law degree. I proved that I could do it from the work of my hands. And anyone can do it as well, given the chance and the opportunity to. And that is why in Emuseni we are building a sewing school currently. In fact, yesterday we put in the windows for the sewing school. But the first 10 recruits have started sewing, and actually they are masters now of this thing. And we equip them with skills to be able to combat the economic climate that we are living in. We are not saying they're going to do it forever, but now at least while you wait for that next job, sell something. Be able to do something with your hands. The Lord says, I'll bless the work of your hands. If you are not working with your hands, how will God bless you?
And you just never know where that can take you.
And it's
so
just,
many different directions.
It's just convenient that we are also doing it at church, to show that you don't just come to church and pray. I don't know where us as Africans lost it, right?
Love it.
Where you just want to pray and pray and pray. But the Bible and the principle says you must go and work. Then God will bless the hands of your work. So it doesn't just end with Musa saying he's Christian and he prays. He prays in tongues. He prays for 5 hours. You need to go out and work. And you'll see the favor of God. And so we are giving them the ability to work with their hands. And also feed them. Because the truth of the matter is, I can say to people, I want to teach you a skill. But the reality is people are hungry. Now, they need something to eat. So while we learn these skills, while we equip each other, you know what? Let's break bread. I believe that is the strongest form of love. In fact, that is the greatest level of Africanism. I know in the homelands, when you're in the homelands and you visit someone's house, the first thing they will do is feed you. And it's just been
it's our love language.
It's been an interesting phenomenon to me. I'm like, and that is just it. That is the same love that Jesus Christ, even in the Bible, has done. The pastors today are not feeding the community. I don't know how. Because Jesus Christ himself fed the 5,000. He fed them. He didn't just teach to them. He didn't just preach to them. I host classes, I host mentorships. I can speak the whole day.
I love it for you.
But people are still hungry. Let's feed the people. Let's show them that Ubuntu still exists.
And you're not just feeding people.
Yeah.
You are nourishing people.
Yeah.
Because when I'm nourished and when my stomach is full, I can think for myself. I can save the environment. I can go to school.
Yes.
I can have ideas.
Yes.
I can develop. I can become an innovation in my being.
Yes.
So you're not just feeding people. Very important. We've run out of time. Next time we're going to do a 2-hour hangout because there's really a lot to do. And I want you to bring other young people that you're working with in studio with you next time. We're going to plan that. Where can we find you? On social media? Maybe we want to support your initiative or want to maybe I just want to talk to you, where can we find you? Are you on social media?
Yes, I am on TikTok, Musa_Sono. You'll find me there. You'll find me saying, "Good morning, 20."
I'm gonna find you there.
Those who know me by that. You're gonna find me on TikTok. You're also gonna find me on Instagram at Musa_Sono. And those who want to give me a call, you can call my office at 071-831-7007. And that's just that, family. Yeah.
Okay.
Those who want to give donations as well in terms of the wool. For the 5th of August,
Yes, tell us about that quickly. Yes, 5th of August, for your birthday month.
Yes, so the 5th of August is my birthday. I'm turning 20 years old, and I want it to be unforgettable to the orphans and the grannies that are living in homes and orphanages. We just want to dress them and give them hats, enjoy with them and eat with them. So if any of you want to join in on the initiative, you can text me or give me a call on 071-831-707. Donations of any kind, whether it's clothes, whether it's wools for the sewing, whether it's food, preferably canned food, but I'll also prefer that you ask for the banking details and you send money. Those who are immobile, of course. But if you are around the area of Joburg, Gauteng, we are in Bramfisher, Full Moon Avenue. We are in Bramfisher. You can just use that number to call and ask for directions and everything. But if you're around that area, you're more than welcome to even come to our food drives Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Yeah.
Okay. Musa, well done with everything. And I think as you enter a new decade, you know, and doing this work, you know, the sewing school and dressing, you know, the young and the old, you are already paving the way for what is going to be a bright next decade. Happy 20 years. Happy 20th anniversary of Musa Sona.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, so exciting. Thank you very much for blessing me and for blessing the listener.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Africans.
You. Yes. All right. 10 minutes to go. Well, 9 minutes to go now till it's 2 p.m. Central African time. Neto Chemane is coming through to tell us what's coming up on Africa at Play.
Make you ginger. Go follow your lead, you be leader. When you kill it, carry something with you, but your own is bigger, ginger. Make you ginger. Go follow your lead, you be leader. When you kill it, carry something with you, but your own is bigger. Make a put up for your body, baby. No be poison.
All right, so we are building momentum for the best sports show in the land. NETO in his chairman's chair to tell us what's coming up.
A very good afternoon, and a very good afternoon to all the Channel Africans. I must say that you look ravishing. You are going on a date without me, but it's all
I'm
good.
leaving you, my man.
It's all good. Good times will come. We're looking at an exciting edition of Africa at Play. We're kicking off the show with a conversation with Lawrence Kohler, who is an award-winning football journalist who got to witness the FIFA Club World Cup in the USA. He's back in the country, and we want to find out about the experience, but also to talk about the African teams that never got to make it to the last 16. They only played in the group stages. And that was it. So we're going to have that conversation with Lawrence Kohler. At 3 p.m. we've got double when it comes to our teenagers in sport. We've got Victoria Mpala and Molatelo Mateta, who are part of Noordwijk High School. And these are our netball players, our teenagers in sport. And we've got our legend, who is a footballer from Liberia, Christopher Ray, who used to play for Arsenal in the 1997-1998 season. And it was a good season for him because that was the generation that won a double, the FA Cup and the Premier League, during the mentorship of Arsene Wenger. So we're looking forward to a very exciting edition of Africa at Play.
Yes, sir. We are here 2 p.m. Central African time until 1700. Make sure that you tune in for the best sports show on the African continent as you and I know it. It was wonderful to plant the seed with you. We're back again next time you and I connect. It will be a brand new month. So let's enter it together next week, Sunday. Thank you very much to Katu on technical operation, and from myself and the rest of the team. See you next weekend. Cheers.
Dreams are made of love, dreams are made of flowers, dreams are made of feelings, dreams are made of passion, dreams are made of money, dreams are made of family. Dreams made of you and your mind. All those plans you had when you were a child. Ago. Believe that they still stand, 'cause your time is now. Just believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself. Don't let your crown down. Don't let your crown down. Who you ain't, no. 'Cause you know just who you are. And in time you will see just what you're made of. So go find a way. Dreams are made of tears. Dreams are made of fears. Dreams are made of